I'm Courtney Carter, founder of Carter Media Group. I've been working at the intersection of entertainment, media, sports, and culture for over 22 years. I have sat at every single side of any table that exists in this industry, and that viewpoint and vantage is a killer and rare thing to have on your team. I love to build and create and protect. I'm a killer and a creator, we'll put it that way. You know, I had the privilege of growing up in the Pacific Northwest in a little suburb called Westland, Oregon, near Portland, just outside of Portland. My dad used to say, "You can be anything you want to be." And he would apparently say that over and over and over again. And somehow that leaked into my subconscious, but what he didn't say was you can sell anything. But somehow that got in there too, because at apparently 3 or 4 years old, we went to the state fair and we were passing by a table of rocks and they were painted. And I asked about them and I said, "What are those?" And he's like, "Oh, people sell them and put them in their garden." And I did. I went home, I found the rocks in our path, I painted them, and the next thing my parents knew, I was coming home with just probably $2.50 worth of money because I was selling painted rocks door to door in my neighborhood. So I think there's that nurture nature story. Definitely have always been a very entrepreneurial, creative being. And I think that comes from this really supportive environment that my parents created. My schooling was as much about books and the intellectual side as it was about the heart and about really creating an opportunity to grow as a human. Soccer and athletic endeavors is also something that was very important to me and my family. For me, it was about finding the right college that was going to support not only what I wanted to do in life, but also the best program, to be honest, to play soccer and win a national championship. The idea that Oregon State was just far enough away from home to where my parents and my family could come and support, as well as it is where my mother went to school, so there was a little legacy. But more importantly, the idea that I could help build a program. The head coach at Oregon State was actually my former high school coach. Coach Steve Fenna just said, "I want you to come in and help build this program, and I want to go and make the tournament and do these things that Oregon State had really never done." And they had a great business program. I always knew I wanted to be involved in sports and entertainment in some capacity, but from a business lens. And I knew that by playing soccer there, being involved in student athlete governance, I was the president of a student athlete advisory committee. You know, it was a beautiful 4 years at Oregon State of athletic endeavors and success, an ability to really build community around all of that, and truly have an understanding of how and what sports business is, who I was as what do I want to be, what makes me excited inside. And truly it was sharing stories that other people might not have access to by way of where they sit, and knowing that I am this translator of sorts, or this door into a whole new world of an athlete or a person. I really loved the opportunity and frankly the privilege of being able to do that. When I got the opportunity to be on Fox Sports Northwest, there was a highlight show, and me and my friend and fellow SAC, governance member Nikki Newberger, we were student athlete reporters, and I was like, "This is a dumb show. Let's do cribs." You as a producer are not going to be able to call Steven Jackson, who at the time was our running back, and do a cribs in his apartment. He's never letting you in, And so it was a real great, amazing opportunity. I learned how to produce my own segments. I learned camera placement. I knew and understood how to tell a story. And then also it allowed my fellow student athletes to feel seen in a way that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have. And again, bring in Beaver Nation into our lives in a way that you couldn't do it. There was no social media, there was none of that. When I was looking at what I wanted to do with my life after college, I knew I wanted to be around sports and entertainment. Long story short, I got the internship at the Knicks. I moved to New York. I lived there 6 months. I fell in love with the city. I was born to be in New York City. I was always a little too fast-paced for the folks in the Pacific Northwest. And when I landed, I just knew oh, these are my people. And I had an amazing experience in event presentation in the broadcasting group. And really, we went to the playoffs that year, believe it or not. And I think we had 2 different head coaches Just Google 2004 Knicks, and you can do your own research, but it was a blast. It was a blast. I got to help create the in-game experience. I got to help select all the national anthem singers. So it was this beautiful opportunity to say, hey, here's sports, here's music, here's entertainment, and now here's a show. And to do that at the world's most famous arena at the age of 21 was a pretty incredible opportunity. I moved from, more of a event presentation and broadcasting role into a sales role. And I had a beautiful 3 years at the Garden. I was the only female sales executive at Madison Square Garden. And ultimately it was a crash course in all things sports entertainment and sales partnership. I had to get creative. Again, as a young female executive, the only one, I had to do things that really set themselves apart. So I started Hispanic Heritage Celebration Night, Asian Celebration Night. Those things didn't exist. And I just wanted everyone to feel, who was a fan of that team, to feel a part of it. Ultimately, we were able to create an amazing atmosphere. And I decided at the end of that 3.5 years, it was time to move on and do something a little bit different, and was really excited to then take my talents over to Soccer United Marketing. That is the commercial entity that at the time literally owned the rights to any time a soccer ball was kicked in a meaningful way in this country. For the next 3.5 years, I was at the front lines of educating the commercial marketplace on the sport, trying to get them to understand that in the next 20 years, this is going to be one of the biggest sports in this country. That was a fun thing to try to convince people almost 20 years ago, but look where we are now. At that point, I said, look, I've had an amazing opportunity to be around team, arena, a couple different leagues, federation experience with the CONCACAF, US Soccer, Major League Soccer, WPS, and media was something I wanted to learn more about. So at that point, ESPN gave me a quick call and poached me, and I went over to ESPN, and it was an amazing opportunity to learn the media angle to the business and create really cool creative campaigns with talent. We did some amazing work with Levi's and Russell Westbrook in the fashion space. Guinness was a big partner of ours. And I was like, we have this huge studio in LA that we never use. We use SportsCenter out of it, but what else? It's just sitting there. We have all these celebrities. Why don't we create something that essentially, when they come to do a car wash through SportsCenter, we do some other cool branded content. So we created the Guinness Suite. 2 Chainz was our first guest. I actually helped cast our 2 hosts, and we did really fun content. We turned a tape closet into a studio and really pushed the limits of what editorial wanted us to do. But when you look at media now, that's all it is. Then I started going to LA a lot for the Guinness Suite. I got a cold call from 2 agents at CAA, Nick Kahn and Andy Elkin, who were the leaders of the media talent group at CAA. They had heard what I had been doing with talent and said, hey, what do you think about coming into CAA and starting something new where talent is really the front and center of the story? All of a sudden I said yes, got on a plane and moved to LA. I was really excited to be a part of a group of people who were taking talent to crazy heights and really be at the tip of the spear of a moment in time where media was democratized. There was a moment where all of a sudden YouTube was where people were watching media. And it wasn't people who were over 30, it was everybody who was under 30 or maybe even under the age of 20, right? And so you had these pockets of platforms, Instagram, Vine, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Media companies were being built under the noses of studios and networks. They didn't even understand it. They thought it was like a marketing vehicle, maybe, right? And there were beautiful voices being born in these spaces who weren't seen or heard in other places. And that really got my juices flowing. So being at CA at this time was really exciting. Had the opportunity to sign amazing talent like Amanda Seales and Ghetto Gastro and this emerging voice off of Vine called Liza Koshy. And Liza was this light. I saw one Vine and in 6 seconds, I was like, she's a star. And it was a funny vine where she looked at the sun and she thought it was like coming after her man. It was super perfect. And after about a year and a half or two of really making sure she was, again, doing new stuff, but also starting to engage her interests around acting and the more traditional marketplace, she asked me to leave and be her manager and producing partner. And it was not something I had planned. I loved what I was doing at CAA with all of my clients, but I knew that she was special. So I launched Carter Media Group in April of 2017, and really to be a place, a management and media company that represented innovative, inclusive, and disruptive people, story, and ideas. Ghetto Gastro also left with CAA, with Liza, and over the next few years, we created amazing campaigns and then continued to sign clients. We have the honor of working with Salema Masekela, who a lot of people knew as the face and voice of the X Games of action sports, as well as working with Matt Belisai, who's an amazing, hilarious gay comedian. Jason Berg, who's an amazing director. You have Carrie Twigg, who's former Obama White House, amazing voice, storyteller, producer herself. We also work with Billy Kemper, who's one of the best big wave surfers in the world. Last but not least, Angelo Baque. He was the brand director of Supreme. He built the Supreme brand and 7 years ago left and started Awake New York Clothing. Our list is so eclectic because, we want to be representative of the world we live in. Like, period, end of story. Like, you can sit up in an ivory tower and decide this is what I think people need because this is what I understand life to be. But unless you're like in it and you're at the block parties and you're, at the shows or you're in the spaces, in the boardrooms, I mean, this isn't just culture, like this is also business, right? And no one understand why decisions are made, or no one understand like the nuances of legalities of things. You gotta be in the world to make stuff for the people. So one of the really cool things about being in this role is it's not one thing. Every day is a different day. And being at the intersection of sports entertainment and with my background in soccer, I'm really lucky to have been able to be an angel investor in some things. One of those is Angel City FC, the women's NWSL team here in Los Angeles. I am so proud to be able to call myself an owner with this unbelievable group of women and men who've come together to really change the model of ownership and to really prove that women's sport is here. It's not only here to stay, but it's here to be profitable. Like, it is here to be a business that works. What it has done is also open up my eyes to what else is out there and how else can myself and Carter Media Group show up for people who are building stuff, right? That believe in these types of things. So again, going back to disrupting and innovating models that were not built for everyone. Like, that's where I want to be. I want to be a part of building things that are viable, that entertain, that create community and joy, and in the sports entertainment landscape. So that's the future for me. I want to continue to do that with my clients. I want to continue to do that with new and different people that I haven't met yet, and build property that matters, that brings meaning to people. People always used to ask me at ESPN, like, "What, do you like what you do?" And I'm like, look, through line in my career, everywhere I've been, I know that mom or dad, or aunt or uncle, or big sister, big brother, they have gone to an event that somehow I helped make happen. And that's a core memory in their life. And that matters. So I just want to be a part of making stuff, and that's just weird, I'm getting emotional, but it's true. I want to be a part of making stuff that creates core memories. Period. End of story.